Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
I turned off news altogether.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust much of anything.
It's the rage bait.
It feels like it's trying to divide people.
If we got clear facts, maybe we could calm down a little.
NBC News brings you clear reporting. Let's meet at the facts. Let's move forward from there. NBC News, reporting for America.
Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation and on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup. Welcome back, folks, to this week's edition of the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation news from across the nation for the week of October 27th, 2025. We're almost to November. Can you believe it? Some housekeeping here before we get into our stories this week. Want to thank Bass Pro Shops, Richard Childress Racing, Ducks Unlimited for their support this week. We are in the last week of our Pop for Conservation raffle, ladies and gentlemen. So head to pop4conservation.com, P-O-P, the number 4 conservation.com. There, get your chances to win all sorts of cool treasures, trucks, vehicles, firearms, sporting paraphernalia, trips et al. There's so many great items to win. Heck, it's almost the holidays. You can squirrel them away, put them under the Christmas tree. It's a great time to win stuff. Popforconservation.com, P-O-P, the number 4 conservation.com. And as we've been announcing here for the listening audience only, got a special deal for you for those attending NAS who have not registered yet. Go ahead, go to the summit page there, go to congressionalsportsman.org, go to the summit page, get your registration underway. And when you go to checkout, enter the code BIRDMAN, BIRDMAN, to get you $50 off your registration. Again, that's for podcast audience only. We will not be promoting this socially or otherwise. So Birdman, BIRDMAN, get you the $50 off your registration. Go there now and register. Whew. All right, all that housekeeping out the way, let us get to our stories for this week. Michigan license reimbursement and fee update clears the Senate floor. That coming from Bob Matthews, who will join us momentarily. We're welcoming a new set of talent to the Southwestern states. We'll introduce you to our newest team member, Kaylee Mortensen. Massachusetts hearing buries major conservation issues, amongst others. We'll get to that from Christian Ragosta. What are compensatory hunting days anyway, coming out of the Southeast? And we wrap things up in Alaska with Maureen Newmiller. American System of Conservation Funding supports renovations at public shooting range in Juneau. All that and much, much more. But let us now welcome in Bob Matthews. Bob, what's going on in Michigan, brother?
Hey, Fred. It's good to be on. Good time of the year, right? It's hunting season. It's football season. We're recording this on my birthday, and I get
Happy
to
birthday, man. I
talk
didn't
about
know that.
some wins here in Michigan. So it's
Heck
good
yeah.
over here.
All right. Well, let's talk about it. What's happening in the State House there?
Yeah. So we've been working on a couple of bills here in Michigan, Senate Bills 276 and 277, which deal with conservation funding. They adjust license and tag fees so that the Michigan DNR has the funding that it needs to get the job done now and into the future. And it also ensures that the license reimbursement framework that's existing here in Michigan is working. So if a senior buys a discounted license, the agency is reimbursed for the dollars that it would have captured if not for that discount. That has existed here in Michigan since the early 2000s, but just a legislative kind of just a little clerical hangup has made that so it hasn't gotten done. So this would fix that and make sure that it comports with Michigan law so that money can be given back to the DNR. So Michigan has not updated their license fees in over a decade, but the costs that are associated with the DNR's mission have steadily increased over time and even sharply increased during the COVID years. So there's no sign of those costs decreasing. And it's not a problem that's unique to Michigan, right? That's true across the country, but being more than a decade behind on inflation is a problem. Um, the costs that we're talking about include things like staffing, um, raising fish, transporting and stocking those fish, habitat management, both in the water and on land, and maintaining public access infrastructure, both on the water and on land as well. So all of that. But it doesn't really take much of an increase to get the agency back on track. So we're talking in these bills raising a deer tag by $5, a turkey tag by $3. Very minimal increases that still keep Michigan less expensive than just about every state in the region, and for just about every species. So obviously, not the sexiest bills to work on, right? Increasing license fees, but the bottom line is that nobody cares about these fish and wildlife resources the way that hunters and anglers do. And if it weren't for sportsmen and women putting their money where their passion is, in Michigan, it's $100 million a year that hunters, anglers, trappers, and shooters generate for the DNR to carry out its mission. I promise you that the legislature isn't appropriating that money for conservation, right? That's a lot of money. And it comes from hunters and anglers, and there's just no way that it's coming from anywhere else. So these bills were introduced by two bipartisan co-chairs of the Sportsman's Caucus here in Michigan, Senators John Cherry and John Bumstead. So I want to thank them for their work. We've been working since the beginning, since before their introduction with those legislators and with the caucus. And we've provided testimony now that they're moving in both the Senate Natural Resources Committee and the Senate Appropriations Committee. So last week finally voted off the Senate floor. They're going to make their way over to the House. It's going to be an uphill battle over there. We've heard some negative things from the House so far, but that's kind of what CSF does. We're going to work across the aisle, both sides of the legislative body, and if it's good for hunters and anglers, if it's good for fish and wildlife, then we're going to do our best to get it done. And this is good for all of those things.
All right. Yeah. Before that little Bob, we are plagued, you and me, my friend. Every time we do this, there's some sort of gremlin that finds its way. But nevertheless, we persevere, just like the good work you do in Michigan and your other states. So before that little glitch there, we were talking about, Michigan being over a decade from raising their rates on licenses. New Jersey comes to mind. I want to say they haven't done so in 2 decades plus. It might be longer than that, which is pretty remarkable. And we've covered this on the show so often. The community will push back. It's still a cheap ticket, man, to get in and go out and do what we do. States like yours, states like mine in the Northeast, it's really cheap for residents and even non-residents. And I'm curious, is there a significant increase in non-resident tags to help offset some of this? I know some states have taken a more aggressive approach to this, namely because of access issues and non-residents crowding out public land. But maybe that idea aside, are you guys doing something different in Michigan?
Yeah, so there is a pretty hefty increase for non-residents. I don't think that's necessarily the best part of the bill. To be honest with you, I don't think that trying to price non-residents out of states is necessarily the ultimate way that we should be headed. But at the same time, in Michigan, it costs $20 as a resident or a non-resident to buy a deer tag.
Yeah, no, it's so cheap. It's so incredibly
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah, so it now does make a little bit of a difference and get non-residents to pay more than residents, which with understandable, all good. Um, yeah, that does offset some of the cost, and you know when you're talking about inflation, it's funny because here I just watched my energy bill go up a little bit, right? So I'm getting my electric bill and I see that they added $50 to it. I don't know about you, Fred. I don't have a fish hatchery in my garage. So things, it just costs more, whether we're trying to be a hunter, whether you're trying to be an angler, or whether you're trying to make sure that there's fish in the water for anglers to be there. It costs money, and like you said, it's a cheap ticket to do the things that we like to do in some of these states, and Michigan's one of them. It's really, really good opportunity for not a whole lot of money, even with these increases.
Taxidermists come to mind. I know a lot of the professionals in the area, they're part of associations, things like that. And a lot of these guys get together and will have like these gentlemen's agreements, the non technical rules of baseball, if you will, the unspoken rules. And they will price, like, for instance, a shoulder mount on a whitetail. You go back 15, 20 years, it's like $400, get you a nice shoulder mount whitetail.
Yep.
Now, things have changed, and I think the average going price for a shoulder mount is anywhere between 800 and 950. And these folks will get together and, not outprice each other, but keep that competition good, keep the quality of the taxidermy good out there, and the guys that are charging half that, well, you're getting what you pay for, right? So that example to say, we need to do that at the state level and the agencies too. You have this disparagement between some states where this past spring, I went to West Virginia. It cost me almost $200 to hunt turkey, and I didn't even get to take one home, right? So it's gonna
Right.
cost me another $200 if I wanna check West Virginia off. If you come here to New Hampshire, it's gonna cost you less than a buck 50, and you're gonna get deer, you're gonna get small game, you're gonna get all sorts of stuff with it, and then a few extra bucks for your turkey if that's what you're doing. But again, my whole thing is it would be cool to see some, uh I guess, standardization. I know we can't force these folks to do that, but it would make it feel fair across the country, and especially for the non-residents. And I appreciate, like, Western states have far more hunts of a lifetime, and there's different value on those hunts. But for a lot of us that are just deer and duck states and turkey states, like, there's opportunity to kinda level that out, and everyone kinda pays. So, to your point, my insurance stuff, for my car went up. I've never been in a car accident. Like, what's it going up $100 for? Like, I didn't do anything, and neither are they. But yeah, anyway, you're exactly right. And for the community, for pushback, yeah, I guess they get grumpy. But um, if we don't do this, or how are we possibly gonna have mission delivery? How are we gonna maintain the public access and, everything else that comes with it for us to go out there and do these things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, 100 million bucks here in Michigan that I can promise you that legislature is not pulling out of the general fund to take care of deer and turkeys and all the fish that we have here in the waters of Michigan, the rivers of Michigan. Um, that's kind of the point that I tried to make when we've talked with legislators about this is just listen, hunters and anglers, we're taking care of the bill for this. I'm just asking you to pay a little bit more to do it. It's 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 a tough thing to get across to some folks, but bottom line is that if you like to hunt and fish, then you got to pay for it because no one else is taking care of the things that we care about.
$5 increase is nothing, and I would argue that, going to Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, wherever the hell you get your coffee, and you're dropping 7 to $8 for a frothy Dente latte, whatever the hell it's called. You can do that for a season of deer hunting. They shouldn't bother you. But anyway, Bob, we appreciate your reporting. Great work up there and continued success going into the season. And happy birthday once again.
Hey, thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Yep. Bye.
All right, my thanks to Bob for his time and his reporting. As we always do, I'll take this moment before we hit to the rest of the news to like, follow, subscribe, all that wherever you can. Again, most of you guys are listening to us on Apple, so there you can follow, subscribe, whatever it is. You can also do a 5-star rating. So as long as you're not driving, you can find us at the Sportsman's Voice. Click on that. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Hit those 5 stars. And then at the top, there's the 3 buttons. You can follow the show. Again, I just went through that and it took less than 20 seconds. So super easy to do, and it is valuable for us for this show to become discoverable, move around the ones and zeros and the algorithm, whatever whatever makes that move. The rest of you are on Spotify, so you can do the same thing. There's a rating system and a follow. So we appreciate it. Your proactive enjoyment of this show and participation is appreciated and helps us become more successful. So with that, let us continue on with the rest of the week's news. As I said at the top, we're welcoming a new Southwestern States coordinator. So you folks in the Southwest, these are the states of Arizona, California, Hawaii, Nevada, and Utah. You folks get to welcome in Kaylee Mortensen. She joined our organization last week. So warm welcome to her. Definitely looking forward to seeing her talents on the ground and you folks that are in those state houses getting an opportunity to work with her. Kaylee comes to us from the Wildlife Events Marketing Specialist Office of the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. That's where she led the statewide wildlife recovery events program to increase participation, hunting, fishing, shooting sports, and wildlife viewing. Pretty R3 centric and focused. So happy to have her talents on the team and look forward to her working in tandem with the NASC network out there and governor's offices and doing good things for the sporting community in the Southwest. All right. Our friend Christian Ragosta brings us this laundry list of items in Massachusetts, the Bay State, always doing enough to keep us busy here. So on October 21st, the Massachusetts Joint Committee on Environment and National Resources held a hearing on 55 bills. And you're welcome to go to the in article link and check those 55 bills out that Christian highlights. Many of these bills, which would have substantial impact on sportsmen and women access and opportunities, both in potential good and bad ways. At least 6 of the bills were addressed for Sunday hunting opportunities. Multiple bills want to expand the use of crossbows for all hunters, and 2 bills address banning traditional lead ammo for hunting. That's not good. As an aside here, Massachusetts testimony rules only allow 3 minutes of testimony in total, no matter how many bills. So unless you're here's a generational cultural reference. Unless you're the Micro Machine Man and you can talk at like 1,000 words per second, you're probably not touching 55 bills. However, we still make an effort and highlight the heavy hitters. Those wanting to submit written testimony in the Bay State there, you have until November 3rd to submit. So let's get to the Sunday hunting here. And I think we've covered this in the past, different iterations, taking a whack at it and just seeing if there's any concessions that can be made. Massachusetts and Maine remain the only 2 states that have complete prohibitions on Sunday hunting. After this year's success of providing more opportunities in Connecticut and Pennsylvania, it is long past due and time for Massachusetts to drop their Sunday hunting prohibitions. Many of the Massachusetts legislators are first trying to open the door for Sunday hunting by following states like New Jersey in 2009 and Connecticut in 2015, when they initially allowed deer hunting during the archery seasons on Sundays. And due to years of CSF efforts and leadership from the sportsmen's caucuses there in Connecticut, legislators in Massachusetts can incrementally provide for more access over the years, as Massachusetts Wildlife will be able to report the success from providing more opportunities in the Commonwealth. Yeah, bottom line, let's start rolling this back. It's unnecessary, and especially on the private land. People pay enough taxes in that state. I mean, all over the Northeast, quite frankly, where if you've got land that you can hunt, you should be able to. We've hammered this, especially this last year, talking about Connecticut, talking about Pennsylvania. These are discriminatory policies, discriminatory laws applied only to hunters, not even the sporting, shooting sports community. You can go out there, 3-gun, you can go out there and, whatever, shoot rounds from dusk till dawn until your heart's content. That's no issue. But to sit in a deer stand or a duck blind and, just more or less sit there for most of us, I mean, it truly is ridiculous. These red herrings of it's running the animals ragged, and all these hikers and bikers and bird watchers are tired of being harassed. Like, listen, that's not true. It's not true at all. It's not a thing. Maybe, maybe an anecdotal amount of bird watchers and hikers and mountain bikers may run into a random deer drive here or there. It's not a popular way to hunt deer in the Northeast like it used to be. It's a generational thing, and there's still some people that do it, but it's not really, from what I've seen and observed over 2 decades of hunting up here. It's not the preferred method. Quite frankly, I think most people who are hunting today of a younger generation, younger Gen Xers and younger than that, kind of turn their nose to that style of hunting. So anyway, all that to say, no hunter wants to be anywhere near walking trails, near wildlife watching platforms. Like it serves no good in the quest of filling a tag to be near people who are making noise, walking about, and not observing any sort of etiquette. So, again, bottom line, it's really time to roll some of this stuff back. And then, you know, Massachusetts, your neighbors right to your southwest, definitely setting a good example in 2025. And you can pick that up and leave Maine all by themselves, which is shocking that Maine, with such a rich heritage, would exclude Sundays from their citizens. No, not even thinking about the non-resident hunter, but just from the resident hunters alone. It's a problem. It's one that needs to be overcome, and we've got 2 great examples in 2025, and Massachusetts, I think, has a good opportunity in the next year to make headway on this, and that would, like I said, leave Maine kind of cloistered all the way in the Northeast by itself to start making good and better decisions on Sunday hunting and not being held hostage to some loss of access rumblings, because you already have a loss of access. Quite frankly, that loss of access bleeds over into New Hampshire, where I live, and creates access issues because Sundays the woods and waterways become inundated with out-of-state hunters, which our local economy appreciates, but an already crowded environment that is southern New Hampshire and southeastern New Hampshire, having having our neighbors from the south and the east come over, it is creating access issues here too. So let's all be good neighbors and afford each other the same access and start opening Sunday hunting. All right, let's keep going here. This from Connor Barker, talking about compensatory hunting days and what are they? In North Carolina and South Carolina, in the Southeast, they remain. Here we go. More Sunday hunting. Remain the only 2 southeastern states that still have public land Sunday hunting prohibitions in place. Oftentimes, proponents of Sunday hunting restrictions cite the allowance of compensatory hunting days for waterfowl to justify keeping existing Sunday hunting restrictions in place. See, and here's a case of our own community butting heads. While many hunters think of access as a physical barrier, in select few states, access is limited by the days of the week you can hunt. Again, we're talking about this here. Sunday hunting restrictions, old blue laws passed to encourage church attendance. Again, getting time for updates here. And these same restrictions are major barriers for access, specifically in North Carolina, South Carolina, for the Southeast. You'll hear different justifications for keeping Sunday restrictions in place, from allowing non-hunters to enjoy public hunting lands without airfinger quote disturbance, to the loss of compensatory hunting dates if Sunday hunting restrictions on migratory birds were lifted. Regardless of the reason, there is no justification based in science to keep hunters from enjoying the resource they are contributing to directly through the American System of Conservation Funding, especially as non-hunting users often do not pay into conservation funding in the same way as hunters do, yet in some instances they enjoy exclusive access on Sundays to public lands bought and paid for with hunters' dollars. True. All true. Since migratory birds do not recognize international and state boundaries, migratory bird hunting regulations are carefully managed through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service sets federal framework for how long seasons can be, typically 60 days in the Atlantic Flyway, for example. States then have the option to set their seasons as long as they are within the federal framework. So, how would lifting the prohibition on migratory bird Sunday hunting impact total season length? The short answer is that it would not. While it is true that if migratory bird Sunday hunting prohibitions were lifted, the state would no longer be eligible to receive compensatory hunting days, the total season length, days that hunters could legally hunt migratory birds, would not change. Thus, instead of having to make up the missed Sundays, hunters would simply be able to hunt on Sundays and achieve the total number of hunting days like nearly every other state does already. In short, while the season would technically be shorter on the calendar with loss of compensatory hunting days, the total number of hunting days would remain the same. Additionally, shifting available hunting opportunities to Sundays as opposed to a weekday where many hunters have to work, go to school, sports, all of it would allow hunters to more readily enjoy time honored traditions, thus supporting the working class hunter. Connor asks, what's the takeaway here? Keep it simple, support efforts and organizations like CSF to repeal Sunday hunting prohibitions in the few places they still remain. Lifting outdated Sunday hunting restrictions will provide equitable public access and conserve our time honored traditions for generations to come. Yeah, look, this is not unique either to South Carolina or North Carolina. And I'm not finger wagging the waterfowl community, but this is the biggest voice against lifting these prohibitions where they stand because they think, like Connor rightly pointed out, that they have an extended season on the calendar. And while that may be true, looking at the calendar again, you have the same amount of days. So what I would recommend if the waterfowling community thinks that pushing those days out in the calendar into some far stretches of um, late fall, winter, whatever your seasons are, because the migration of those birds south is more favorable. I would imagine that since the states have the ability to set those dates, I'm not a waterfowl hunter and I don't want to speak out of school here, but I would reason that you could just move those seasons up, and where states have the ability to do that in the agency level with their commissions or boards, as long as that's within the framework of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and you're getting those 60 days of waterfowling, perhaps in the rulemaking and season setting, that could be adjusted. So, uh, people like their early seasons. They like their early resident goose seasons. They like, what are some of the ones? The teal, things like that. I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too. And for one segment of our community to again ultimately hold hostage the rest, what's the compromise? And then, what about the passive waterfowler who isn't that wonky about it and really could care less, just wants to go out and you know uh, to shoot a few ducks throughout the season, and all they have is Saturdays and Sundays, and they're relegated to Saturdays if it's a bad weather day or whatever. Like, it's a weird one, and it's there's got to be compromise there, and maybe the ultimate solution. And again, it's not a good one, but if waterfowl Sunday hunting is holding everyone else back, well, maybe just like we were talking about in the last article through Massachusetts, we do it incrementally and get everyone else spun up. But here for this article, Connor is specifically talking about waterfowling. So there's got to be some sort of compromise to be made, some sort of critical thinking on this. But to not have Sunday hunting at all, that's the wrong answer. And it's, again, high time that that stuff gets rolled back. Thank you, Connor, for your contribution. All right, lastly, we're going to Alaska. This from Marie Newmiller. The recent renovations at the Hank Harmon Public Shooting Range in Juneau exemplify the enduring impact of sportsmen and women's contributions through American System of Conservation Funding. This project not only enhances recreational shooting opportunities in Alaska, but also underscores the vital role of bipartisan conservation policies in sustaining our natural heritage for future generations. The Hank Harmon Range upgrades completed in the summer of 2025 include modernized safety baffles, expanded target lanes, and improved accessibility features funded primarily through Pittman Robinson Act grants. These enhancements promote responsible firearm use, reduce environmental impacts, and increase public access, aligning with the American System of Conservation Funding's mission to support hunter education and habitat conservation. This project highlights how the contributions of sportsmen and women directly restore and protect wildlife resources and opportunities to enjoy the outdoors. Funding for the project followed directly from the American System of Conservation Funding. The ripple effects of the Hank Harmon renovations extended beyond the range's 100-yard sightlines. By prioritizing erosion control landscaping, the project also provides additional benefits like habitat management and pollution prevention, contributing to the health of the nearby salmon streams and upland game habitats. Participation at the range has surged 40% since the upgrades, with youth shooting clinics drawing record numbers and fostering the next generation of stewards. The success story mirrors the national trends and efforts since 1939, and the ASCF has distributed billions to restore and conserve wildlife populations and expand public access for angling sites, shooting venues, and hunting lands. CSF is a key advocate of the American System of Conservation Funding, celebrating projects like the Hank Harmon Public Shooting Range that exemplify the user-pay public benefits ethos, where consumptive users fund enhancements that benefit all residents along with wildlife and habitats. It's a great story. Thank you, Marie. And that's going to do it for the show. Remember, go back to the beginning of the show. If you've hung in long enough for this reporting, if you're coming to NASC in Memphis and you haven't registered, take advantage of the podcast-only promo code BIRDMAN, BIRDMAN, to get you $50 off your registration. I want to say that's the same as our early bird registration, but that's only for you, the listener, if you're coming. Again, that's not going to be put out there to anyone else. And I'll underscore, this is the last week for the Pot for Conservation. So this is your opportunity to get in there. Pot for Conservation, POP, the number 4 conservation.com. Go there, get your tickets. The show's over. So now you have time to go shop and get all them raffle tickets. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, your support, the likes, the follows, the subscriptions, smashing those 5 stars, helping us get out there in the world, more people discovering the show and tuning into the leading conservation policy organization in the nation, and our reporting as well. So we'll do it all again next Wednesday. Feature presentation tomorrow. Make sure you tune in. We're catching up with PJ Carlton, our colleague at CSF in development, and she's put together a great women's only hunt down in Texas. So all ladies tomorrow on an all ladies hunt, and we're going to relive that with a few guests plus PJ. Talk about just the great experience that it was. So make sure you tune into that. Plenty of good stuff behind us in prior episodes, so you can take it in increments. I highly recommend it. Don't sit here and gobble this all up in an hour or an hour and a half. I don't expect that from anybody, and heck, I don't either with some podcasts. But you can split it up, and there's great information here and great storytelling, and the Fur Takers of America College is another great one to go back and listen to if you didn't get a chance. But that'll do it for this show. Be safe out there in the woods, the fields, the waterways. Get home safe to your family. Shoot straight. Be safe. All that. And then like I said, we'll do it all again next Wednesday. Remember, as always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. We'll see you tomorrow. See you next Wednesday for the Roundup. See ya.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.